I'm Tony, and today we're going to learn how to nest seams. It's a technique that I use a lot in the pattern line that I have with business partner Nicole with the many pieces theory under, of course, Quiltony, where you can buy them. The first step in the patterns that I say is to, whenever you do your strips, is to fold them in half and then to cut them in half. And this is to make the nesting of the seams whenever you cut the pieces a lot easier. What is nesting seams? It's basically whenever you have something that's ironed one way and something else ironed another way, and they butt right up against each other so that you can get perfect points every single time. So first step is we're going to iron this, and then I will show you how we nest these seams, and then I'll show you some nested seams over here to where we can actually point them together, and then I'll show you the finished product. It's a very, very easy technique, like I just said, but sometimes you can't really understand it with pictures, so let's show you how it's done. The reason why we want to cut our strips in half for the Quiltony patterns is because we want to iron our seams in opposite directions. In this case, we're going to iron it towards this fabric, and in this one, we iron it towards this fabric. This is going to give us a lot of more versatility whenever we're laying our pieces out so that we don't have to re-iron our seams a lot. Because when we're laying our pieces out, we want to make sure that we alternate those seams so that you can actually see in opposite directions of what's happening. Now, let's go ahead and do this. Now, this is nesting the seams. You notice how in this case, our fabric is going towards that way, and in this case, our fabric is going that way. Whenever we line these up perfectly, you can see how, you can see how the seams are going in opposite directions. We want to take our fingers and line this up so that it kind of fits in there nice and snug. So in this case, we're actually going to be cutting pieces. We're going to be laying this out and laying our ruler over top of it to cut our chunks and to cut our pieces. The next step is to lay the pieces out and then nest those seams. So I'll show you how that's done. Now these two fabrics in my pattern are laying out like this. So we want to nest these seams to make sure that we have that perfect point in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this, we're going to fold this over, and this is going to get a pin right here. And if you take a look at it, you see how that lines up right there perfectly because my seams are pointing in opposite directions. So remember I said I wanted to put a pin over here. So let's put a pin right there, right in that perfect point. Next step, I'm going to sew this off camera and then we'll iron it and see how our point turns out. Okay, I have my piece sewn. Let's see how it looks whenever we iron it. And there you go. Perfect points every time because your seams go in opposite directions. Now remember, if you're following along one of my Quiltony patterns, it will tell you which way to iron these seams whenever you're assembling your rows. Same reason. You want to alternate your seams for the rows, and that way your rows line up perfectly as well. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is the 3-foot rule, which is a pretty important thing. This is the piece that I have not changed pieces. This is the exact same piece you just saw me pin, sew, and iron. It looks like it's a perfect point, right? And I told you it's a perfect point. But you know what? It's not perfect. Let's take a look at it slowly. As I get closer and closer to the camera, if we inspect this, it's actually off just a little bit right there. But you know what? Whenever I do this, you know it's off. Does it look off? No, it looks perfect. So there is something in the art world known as the 3-foot rule. Whether you're a sewer, whether you're an artist, a designer, whatever it is, you don't be too critical of your work. Seriously, take a step back. Back up 3 feet. If you can still obviously see that flaw in 3 feet, someone may or may not notice it. If you cannot see it after 3 feet and knowing it's there, no one's ever going to notice. No one is ever going to see it. Don't be critical of your work. Seriously, it's fine. Make art for art's sake. Sew for sew's sake. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully, now you know how to nest seams. Don't forget to like this video, follow my YouTube, as well as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and don't forget about Twitch, where you can sew and interact with me live.